What's good, Lakers family, and welcome back to the Lakers Corner, where we talk all things Lakers. As always, I'm your host, John. Very happy to be here, man. Today is Saturday, March 14th, and we got a good friend of mine joining us here today, man. We got my boy Shahin in the building, man. Shahin, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on, John.
Yes, sir, brother. I'm very happy to have you on. Before we get into the whole episode, everybody, I do just want to let y'all know we are recording before the Nuggets game on Saturday, so just want to go ahead and timestamp that, and also show some love to my boy Shahin being in the building, man. He's a big time Lakers content creator. He's got a big following on Instagram, man. So make sure you guys go show some love to Shahin. I'll drop everything in the description down below, and it'll be right there, right under his little bubble. But I appreciate you being here with us today, brother. You ready to talk some Lakers?
Absolutely. Always.
Come on, man. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. We like to get into news here. We usually like to start with that. We'll talk about the news here of the week and we'll kind of recap. And I think one of the biggest news is the historic performance we've seen Luka put up. The 50-point game against the Bulls on March 12th, finished with 51 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. Luka's first 50-point game as a Laker. Before we get into other questions and follow-up questions, talk to me about how you felt about that game. Luka's first 50-point game as a Laker. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely exciting to watch. What I think is really interesting about Luka is that a lot of times you won't realize that he's going on some crazy tear just because his play style is so like smooth and he does so much else. So you'll almost just be watching his game, be like, oh, he's having a good game. And you look up and realize how many points he's got. And you're just like, well, how did that happen? Like personally, like I'm still like traumatized from that like Josh Giddey buzzer beater last season. So to me, this was kind of like finally like a breath of relief. I feel like, okay, cool. I feel like we're all right past that. My last thought on that is the fact that Luka had an opportunity to get like one more assist to get a triple double, and he just subbed himself out. Was like, nah, I don't care. Like we got the win. And to me, that said a lot about his character. That like chasing stats was not as important to him as giving the next man the opportunity to play some more minutes and just get the win. Like, stats are great, wins are better.
Exactly. Wins is why we play the game. The stats sometimes can help you get there, but it's like I always say, man, numbers aren't always black and white. So I love the fact that you brought that up. And I think it's honestly a great transition to one of the things that I wanted to get into. I'm sure you can imagine. And we seen Bam Adebayo go for that, 83-point game earlier in the week. And us being Lakers fans, we know Kobe had that long-standing 81 point game that everybody loved so much. And I've been hearing a lot, right? I've been hearing both sides of the argument. I've been hearing 83 is 83, but I've also been hearing the other side that's like, well, I mean, he shot 43 free throws and it's the way he get it, and context matters. So me personally, I love the fact that you mentioned about how like Luka doesn't stat pad, like Luka didn't stat pad in that situation, because I think like 83 is 83. I respect it. I've been playing basketball my whole life. I've never scored 83 points in a single game. Like that is wildly impressive, let alone in the NBA. But I think that we got to take into account the fact that he was stat padding. Like he was absolutely stat padding. And that's the reason why, to me, it's not as impressive as Kobe's 81-point game. Why it's not as impressive as even Luka. Remember when Luka had that 73-point game, or Joel Embiid had 70 and three quarters. And to me, honestly, they're less points, but they're actually more impressive in my opinion. And the reason why is because, like, let's look at Kobe's 81-point game, for example. When we went into the fourth quarter, the Lakers were up by 7 points. When the Heat went into the fourth quarter against the Wizards, they were up by 15 points. Bam Adebayo did not need to be out there. Kobe, he needed to be out there for him, right. And he got the 81, and he got the 81 because he needed to be out there, because we're only up by 7. Bam Adebayo, their team up by 15 points, and they're playing the Wizards. Come on, man. Bam had no reason to be out there. It's stat pattern. So that's why, to me, it's just not as impressive. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Is that how you feel, or talk to me about that?
Yeah, I remember watching Kobe's 81-point game live. I actually have a story about that I can tell you in a minute. But I do remember that it was against the Raptors, and they were crap that year. So like, gonna give a little bit there too. But Kobe's performance was truly one for the ages. Like he definitely was not taking any plays off. Yeah, he got points off of free throws as well, but that was not the bulk of his points. And to be fair, like Kobe was always a big advocate for the game. He wanted to see people break records to do that. Like I think if he was with us today, I don't think he'd be upset about it. I also think that he'd be very critical of how it was accomplished. And so, no hate on Bam. Like, good for him. Yes, his name is going in the history books and all that. But in a way, it reminded me a lot more of Kobe's final game, his 60-point game, because
Mm,
I mean, a lot of people may not remember
he
very
was
clearly
just
because you
getting them up. He was just getting them up.
exactly. Yeah, he got 60 points on what, like 1,000 shots? Like, and really at that point it was like it was his last game. We were way out of the playoff picture. It didn't matter, it was over. And so it was kind of a like, fuck it, let's go for it type of thing. And perhaps for the Heat, it was the same thing. You said it. They were playing the Wizards. Playoff seating wise, like they'll probably make the playoffs, but won't go far in it. Whatever.
Right.
But don't want to hate too much. I'm gonna give Bam his due. I just think once the Kobe defenders calm down a little, and I get it, like it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a quick story about 81.
Talk to me.
So this was I'm not exactly a youngin anymore, but this was some years back now. And so I had a friend. I have a friend who's a huge Warriors fan and has been ever since he was a kid, like me with the Lakers, like even through the terrible years. That's how you know you're a fan. And we would sometimes go to each other's games here and there because he's from the Bay, I'm from here. And he was in town one day, one weekend, and wanted to go to a game. And so I said, let's go see the Lakers. And he's like, oh, no, the Warriors are playing the Clippers. Let's go see them. And I'm like, fuck the Clippers. And, they were both terrible at the time anyway. And he bothered me enough saying like, all right, we'll go to the Laker game next time. I said, fine. So we ended up going to the Warriors Clippers game. Forgettable. No idea what happened. Doesn't matter. Whatever. We go home. And sometime later, I get like my phone's blowing up. My other buddy's hitting me up like, dude, are you watching this? I'm like, watching what? I was at the Warriors Clippers. It sucked. Whatever. He's like, no, put on the game. And it turned out to be Kobe's 81-point game.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
was just like so pissed.
Oh
And
my goodness.
and now like, and I'm still friends with this guy for some damn reason. But
that's grounds to break a friendship right there.
for real.
That is
For
grounds
real.
to break a friendship.
But I mean, I remind him on the anniversary every year, like, hey, you remember that time that you made me miss Kobe's 81-point game? I've been doing this for 20 freaking years. In the middle of conversations, we'll be talking about whatever, like, hey, how are your kids doing in school? Oh, that's great. Hey, you remember how I missed Kobe's 81-point game because of you?
Oh my god.
20 years of friendship and bringing this crap up. I'm looking forward to doing it for another 20.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to do this for the rest of your lifetime in his life. There's no way he can forget the damage he has done to you,
Absolutely
brother.
not. I'm still in therapy for it.
That is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I also have a Kobe story when he hit 81-point game. Not nearly as cool as that, but for mine, I was 6 years old. So I was born in 99, right? So I was six. No, I was 7. I was 7 when it happened. It was in 2006. So I was 7. And I remember I don't remember being like, oh shit, he's going for 81 because I was 7 years old. But I remember so vividly watching the game with my brother in my mom's bed and being like, damn, like this guy's like splitting triple teams. This guy's like splitting double teams. And like the one I most vividly remember, I think he was at the right wing and he was like bringing the ball up court and he got doubled and he like jumped through the double and like put the ball in the middle. I remember being a kid and being like, damn, that's crazy. Like everybody's trying to guard this guy. Had
Yeah,
no idea really that he was going for 81 years back. I look back and I'm like, oh shit, that was the 81-point game. So, I mean, much respect to Kobe, man. RIP to a real true
absolutely,
legend.
absolutely.
Miss him every day, absolutely, man. But okay, my brother. Well, that is I just really wanted to touch on more of that like news piece and then work in that Bam's 83-point game. But regardless of how we feel about it, 83 is 83. So big shout out to Bam as well. But let's keep it pushing here. Let's get to our games of the week where we're going to recap and just talk about some takeaways from the games we've seen this week. We're going to get into the Knicks game, the Timberwolves game, and then the Bulls game. And then, like I said, we're recording before that Nuggets game. But let's start with the Knicks game that we seen on the 8th. The Lakers got a win 110-97. LeBron was out that game with that elbow injury and that foot injury. We got out to that early lead in that game because we got to that hot start, and then we got blitzed in that second quarter. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but Luka had 12 points in that first quarter and then had 2 points in that second quarter. They were doubling Luka every single time he touched the ball. But as we know, with great players, you can't hold great players down for too long because Luka ends up going off in that third quarter. It's a 14-point third quarter. But I think the difference and the reason why we won this game is the defense, right? In that third quarter, we forced the Knicks in the 6 of 19 from the field. We held Jalen Brunson to 3 points. We held the Knicks scoreless for 4 minutes, and we ended up getting the win because of that defensive stretch that we went on. So for me, the biggest takeaway from this game was just, the defense. The defense won us this game. But I didn't want to ask you, brother, did you have any thoughts on this Knicks game? Do you have like any takeaways from the Lakers and Knicks game?
Yeah. So I know much of the season we've been really critical of the Lakers' defensive woes,
Mhm.
struggles on that, and to see a game like that where they set the tone early really makes a difference because a lot of it is about setting the tone, knowing when you have that moment where you can just make an adjustment. And I think
Mhm.
JJ, for his flaws and his his strengths and all that, like one of the things I've seen him do pretty well is make adjustments, especially at halftime. A lot of times you kind of see the team coming out at halftime being a different team than the one that went out in the first half. And so being able to shut down the Knicks like that was something really impressive to me. I mean, I think we held them to like 20 something percent from three and like
Yeah.
under 50% overall. And, to me, it says quite a lot. An element, and I'm sure it's going to come up in the conversation a little more, is like with LeBron out, in a way, it's almost kind of turning to a net positive at this point, which is not say he's, I'm gonna speak very highly of him as well. But you have a team that is being expected to pick up next man up a lot more as opposed to deferring. You have a team that's a little faster, so defensive switches work a lot better. And being able to see that, especially from somebody like a vet like Marcus Smart, really telling the guys like where you should move, how to move, and kind of step into it. Uh, really, just like made that a win. That was a statement win for us. A team like New York is a contender.
Mhm.
And so being able to have wins against meaningful teams, especially one where you show, yes, our defense can step up, is really important, especially at this point in the season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and we just to add more to that defense, that third quarter, we held them to 20 points. For the whole game, we held them to under 100 points. I think that's an absolute win. And we are going to touch on it later in the episode, but I do just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it because I did hear you mention it. The net positive. I'm going to ask you. We're going to touch on a little bit later in the episode, but I just want to say, like, do you? Where are you with that? Like, I feel like I've heard it all, right? I mean, like, oh, the Lakers are better without LeBron, or Lakers are better with LeBron. I think it's hard. Me personally, if you ask me, hey, John, we're coming into a playoff series, or we're coming into a game. Would you rather come into this playoff series with LeBron on the team or with LeBron off the team? It's hard for me to say LeBron off the team. I'll be honest with you because numbers are like how we said, numbers are not always black and white. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, just because we have this record without LeBron, I think we're a better team without LeBron. So would love to kind of, get your thoughts a little bit on that just because we kind of opened up that can of worms.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of a free flowing conversation. Look, my background is in data analytics and insights, but also I'm a creative that creates content. So being able to find that balance between, pure numbers and the eye test, I think is really important. LeBron's impact on the game over 20 seasons is undeniable. And he is one of the all-time greats. No matter how much people want to love or hate on him as a Laker, this doesn't matter. You can't take away from the fact that he's an incredibly talented and intelligent and impactful player. Now, with that said, we have seen both from the plus minus stats as well as some of the eye tests that when he is in the lineup with certain players, there are more struggles than with others. And to that point, I would always say, yes, I would want him on the roster going to a playoff series. You cannot take away what he's going to bring as a veteran leadership, what he sees on the court, the way he responds, reacts, and directs traffic. But he's talked quite a bit about, hey, he's handing the reins over to Luka. Finally, we have like a guy who's really willing to take it and able to take it. He's giving more and more due to Austin. Great. But having all three of them on the court at the same time, it's hard to keep sharing the ball that way. And
Mhm.
so staggering LeBron's minutes against Austin and Luka's is key because Austin needs it in his hand a lot more. Like if the ball is not getting him as much, he's a smart guy, but there's only so much running around he can do. He's not going to be able to like set the screen as well as LeBron. He takes charges, but
Mhm.
LeBron in that point, I think there's also like the ego element, the whole part of like, do you really want to sit a legend? Like, again, going back to Kobe, like, were you going to say our team's going to be better if you come off the bench? He'd be like, fuck no, fuck you.
Mhm.
But that team wasn't in contention.
Mhm.
By the time he was actually having his injuries, like it was a different story. It was like what does it matter? Let's sell tickets. With where LeBron is now, with nothing left to prove and all, if he's really truly committed to winning, we talk about contract stuff later, it might be a difficult conversation, but if JJ saw it and if I was able to sit in the room, talk to him, whatever, I'd be like, listen, there are going to be some games where you're going to start for sure. There's going to be some matchups, whatever, where if you come off the bench will be more helpful. Or perhaps you start him and then you sub him out quickly enough. Because, you know, Rui can be a lesser LeBron in his role, but he's a better shooter. You know, and so the way that he doesn't need the ball as much as LeBron does, it creates a better offensive flow. But if you got somebody like LeBron James running your second unit, I'm not saying it'll happen, but I'm just saying if he's coming off the bench a little bit more for that, you're letting the other guys start in a flow, and then you have him coming in more rested, which I get the whole rest versus rust thing, but the dude is 41. He's going to be 42 soon. Like, he's about my age. Like, you know, to hell with like the rust part. Like, you're already rusted a little, but once you get out there and you've got a little more time to warm up, once the game is like going, it's a lot easier than saying, oh shit, we're down by all right, fine, let's get going. You know, so
I like that.
Long answer short, I would definitely want LeBron on my team. I'd want his role to adjust for what's best for the team and not what's best for LeBron.
I like that. So let's stay there for a little bit. So I've heard that before. Now here's where I'm at with it, and I'm thinking about this genuinely from a perspective of like I played basketball my whole life, right? I think especially, and then I've never been 41, but I can only like I'm 27, and the older I get, every time I play basketball, I'm like, God damn, like my body hurt more and more and more. So I can only imagine being 41, right? But I say this to say, you know, when you don't start in a game, sometimes it's actually harder, right? Because you're coming off the bench, like you're cold, right? Unless you're in the back riding your bike or doing whatever to keep yourself warm, keep yourself going. You really actually come into a game cold against people that's already been warm, right? Like chances are you're stepping onto the court, and the other team has at least like one or two starters or a couple of starters out there. That would be my only thing against not starting LeBron, is only because I think that like as a 41-year-old, I think it is really important for him to start the game, play those first 6 minutes, and then go to the bench like how he always do. Play those 6 minutes to get himself going, go to the bench, and then get his rest, and then get him back going. Who I think actually should go to the bench, and I'd love to see how you feel about this, is actually Austin Reaves. I think Austin Reaves, and I know similar, maybe not as big as the ego as LeBron, but a similar ego situation. It's like, what? I'm having the best year of my life. Contract year, you want me to go to the bench? Like, that's crazy for Austin Reaves and his personal development and his career development. Before the Lakers, you bring up a point of like LeBron running the second unit. I think it'd be even better to have Austin Reaves running that second unit, because Austin Reaves, he can play off the ball, but that's not where he's best at. Austin Reaves is best when he's on the ball, making decisions, bringing the ball up court. But if we have Luka on the court and Austin Reaves, I want Luka making decisions 10 times out of 10. I'd rather if we have Luka and Austin Reaves out there, I need Austin Reaves playing off the ball. But again, if I have Austin Reaves playing off the ball, I'm not maximizing his potential. His potential is maximizing bringing the ball up court, creating the offense, having the ball in his hand. So that's the only reason why I would, push towards keep bringing Austin Reaves more off the bench and having him run the second unit, I guess, opposed to LeBron. But wanted to get your thoughts. And also, it would even help the defensive lineup, because as we know, Luka and AR, as great as Luka's shape he's been in, still not the greatest defensive player. And AR, as we've seen, continuously gets picked on time and time. So wanted to, I guess, get your thoughts on that. Where are you with that?
Well, I would have probably agreed with you at some point last season, but we've seen not only Austin's, Austin like grow and improves like each year, but he took a real leap this year. And, in a way, this reminds me of kind of like the whole Kyrie and Luka pairing, that at first it was like they both need the ball. How do you this, whatever? And once they had a little bit of time, they figured it out and they made it all the way to the finals. And so, whereas possibly in the past, I would have said, yeah, Austin off it. No, that doesn't work anymore. Now, to be fair, you're right. They both need the ball, whatever, but they figured out a chemistry where they are the highest scoring duo in the league. Like they still are, even when Austin was out for like a month plus. right? They figured out their chemistry. It's not just that they're best friends and all that. Ultimately, Austin will be the water boy if you say this will help our team win, and it does. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
They all have some egos, but still. But to see how he and Luka have really just fit together, finally, they figured out their give and take, give and go. Luka makes the game easier for Austin. And Austin, having gotten to the point of being a better ball handler, a better scorer, a better slasher, has made the game easier for Luka, right? Luka has spent a lot of time like finding and getting a shot throughout his career and does it well. But if all of a sudden you have somebody else that's drawing the defense away, you're like, thanks, man. You just made it that much easier for me to score. And he started the season with some struggles of his own from three, right? He really was just like, it was just not in a good place. And I think over the last like 3-4 games, something like that, he's scoring like 40% from three, something, maybe even 50. I don't think it's sustainable per se, but it's still enough to say, like, when you have the right pieces fitting together, even if on paper at times you're like, is this going to work? You then look at the outcome and you're like, oh, damn, it does. So again, it makes it strange to say, should you have somebody else coming off the bench? Should you have LeBron? To step back, to consider egos, legacy, all this nonsense, whatever, the answer may just simply be, it depends. But I don't think Austin coming off the bench is going to work. Now, it does get tricky. There are certain matchups where it's like, do you really want a backcourt of like Austin and Luka and like Marcus Smart, who's a great defender, but is kind of undersized? Maybe, maybe not. You may want to, and Marcus doesn't care. He comes off the bench. It's fine. Yeah. But you got to look at the matchups there. Overall, bringing Austin off the bench, I don't think he'll be disruptive. I simply think that with the chemistry and the complementary skill sets that Austin and Luka have built together, for having another come off the bench and for them not to play together is going to kind of revert what was benefiting each other's game.
That's real. That's real. And I love the point that you bring up about the gravity. And because I agree, I think Luka, I think Austin Reaves is probably, Luka is the best player Austin Reaves has ever played with. I mean, I guess barring LeBron James, I guess. But and right now, like where Luka is right now, the gravity that he brings is bigger than the gravity that LeBron brings right now. And again, because LeBron is 41 years old, right? We're not talking about a prime LeBron. AR is not playing with a prime LeBron. So I think that, to your point, yeah, exactly. Like that gravity is huge, and that's part of the reason why AR is getting so many open looks. So yeah, so let's get to the next game here, and that is the Lakers versus Timberwolves. On the 10th, we saw the Lakers get another win, 120-106, third straight game without LeBron. But this game, we did not get off to a hot start. We got off to a very slow start, 0 of 7 from the field. In fact, we dug ourselves into a hole. We had a better second quarter. We had the game, we were tied the game 45-45 at halftime. And then once again, Shahin, what made the difference is that defense. The Lakers forced the Timberwolves on a 6-minute scoring drought in that third quarter. And on the other end, it was the two guys we were just talking about, Luka and AR. They had it going offensively. AR exploded for 16 points in that third quarter. We ended up outscoring the Timberwolves 39-23 in that third quarter. And because of the defense, what happens? We cruise to a win. So I may sound like a broken track record, but my key takeaway is the defense. I mean, people say it. We've heard it. Defense wins championships. Defense wins you games. And here we go. Another prime example of this. My brother Shahin, how did you feel about this Timberwolves game? Any takeaways with this?
I mean, going back to like the whole thing of like putting those ghosts to bed, like I am still singing from the Minnesota series last year, where we didn't have a real center. Jackson Hayes hadn't quite developed to the point he's at now. And, JJ, for some inexplicable reason, decided to just play like all the same guys like throughout the entire, was it fourth quarter or second half?
Yeah, it was the second half. He played 5 guys. Entire second half, which is crazy.
Wild. But let's put away his decision making. It was just like, to see Rudy Gobert basically be Shaq on us was just like traumatizing. And to see that we'd kind of turn around this year, we have some different pieces, but it's really like a different approach and skill set. I mean, shutting down Ant for like, what was it, like 2 for 13, 2 for 15, something like that was ridiculous. So yeah, going back to it, the defense really improving says quite a lot. And Luka got a triple double, and I think that speaks volumes as to him not only being such a like crazy impact player, but also getting the rest of the team involved. He had like 10 or 11 assists, something like that. So people weren't just like kind of sitting back and saying, all right, well, Luka's doing it. Kind of like there had often been that feeling in the past and sometimes now where it's like, oh, LeBron's doing it. It's like, no, just because I'm handling some of the offense doesn't mean I don't need your defensive help. Now, I'm going to admit, I don't remember what DeAndre Ayton was doing in that game, but we can touch upon DeAndre in a little bit, but enough where you're kind of keeping the paint open and keeping Ant out of the way. So, whether it was a mix of him and others, like I'm sure they were doing a great job. But overall, I was really happy to see how we took them down, especially because it's a team that, people were saying like, oh, damn, do you want to really face them in the playoffs? It's like, now we're kind of showing like we can face them and we can figure them out.
Yeah, no, 100%, brother. And my biggest thing I would say with the Timberwolves is to your exact point, right? Just trying to get that revenge because of the way that they did us last year. And what's crazy to me, and I actually said this on the episode that we did with Dean. So shout out our boy Dean, did that live with them. A lot of people would say like, oh, well, the Timberwolves last beat the Lakers. Like I would say that the Timberwolves are better than the Lakers. Me personally, I would actually say the Lakers are better than the Timberwolves only because yes, they did beat us last year and they really smacked us last year. But I think the playoffs comes down to matchups. We just didn't. That particular Laker team did not match up with that particular Timberwolves team.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. That particular Wolves team is damn near still the same team. But my thing is now we still have, even if it's a serviceable big in DA, like DA makes a difference, right? And don't get me wrong, like we feel however we feel about DA. He'll have one game where he'll have one quarter where he's doing everything we need him to do. Then the next quarter he won't, and then he'll hear the media, he'll get pissed off. The next game he'll have a good half, and then he'll disappear for the second half. So he's everywhere. He's sporadic. But I'll tell you this, brother, sporadic is better than nothing. We literally had nothing. And that's the thing, is like a lot of people, and even myself, I try to criticize JJ for playing those 5 players in that second half, but I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Those were only 5 players that could play. Like I think every other player was getting played off the court, and I think JJ got to a point where it's like, I know this is insane, but I'd rather play the players that aren't getting played off the court than the players that are, because time and time again, we've seen what was going on with Hayes. We seen he got played off the court, and even Reaves to an extent was getting played off the court as well, but he's so great offensively that you got to just put up with whatever you're going to put up on the defensive end because you know what he's going to give you on the offensive end. So I'm right there with you for all that in that Timberwolves game. But most of all, glad we got the win and swept them in the season series. So I think that's great because that. If I'm not mistaken, we swept them in the season.
Yes,
yeah, I think we did.
0-3 for them. So I'll take that and take it into the playoffs too.
Exactly. And then to touch on DA, he did have a good second quarter in that game. He at halftime he already had like 12 points, 11 rebounds. But again, by the end he finished the game with like 14 though. So it tells you that just consistently dropping off. But all right, brother. So let's move to our last game of the week that we've seen here, and that was the Lakers versus the Bulls on March 12th. We've seen the Lakers a scoring clinic beat the Bulls 142-130. This game was the absolute total opposite of the last two, right? We talk about defense being the key. This game was all offense, no defense. The only good thing is that our offense was the one that really erupted because both teams really had it going. Both teams, all 5 starters scored 12 points or more. The Bulls even had a couple players off the bench that scored double digits. But for us, we had none other than the Don, Luka Dončić, for 51 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. To your point earlier, almost had that triple-double. AR had 30. DeAndre had 23 and 10. LeBron, first game back from that injury, 18 points. Rui, 14 points. All 5 starters scored, right? So, to me, the biggest takeaway from this game is offense. But my thing is, I can't expect this on a night-to-night basis, right? Like, I just can't. I think this is great offensive, like, eruption, but I just can't expect this on a night-to-night basis. But biggest takeaway for me, this game is, offense getting it done. And sometimes my coach always used to tell me, sometimes you could play good defense, but it's just better offense sometimes. Good defense, better offense. And I think that's what this one was tonight. But talk to me about your thoughts on that Bulls game.
I think when you're looking at a team like the Bulls, they've been kind of in that strange sense of like purgatory for years. And this team doesn't have an identity.
Mhm.
Ultimately, the Bulls don't. And so the only person you truly have to focus on with your defensive effort is Josh Giddey. And
Mhm.
he's going to get his and his, but like I mentioned, that buzzer beater from last year. But last year is last year, right? This year, he still gets buckets. He was still doing anything and everything, but he's the only focal point. So basically, if they had enough energy on defense to just deal with him and not worry so much about the other guys. And some of their players got theirs, but honestly, I can't even remember most of their names. It just says that much
Mhm.
about it. You're right. It's just like, you know what? To hell with it. Don't worry about the defensive effort too much tonight, guys. Just rain threes. Just drive inside. Just get yours. And when you're looking at games where our offense is going to be that much more critical, I think that's when we need to look at DeAndre Ayton and really realize this is when we can get him going,
Mhm.
because throughout much of the season from Aiton, we've seen that he's kind of temperamental, right? He seems like there are nights where he's playing like a former number one pick, nights where he's not. And if he's involved in the offense, he'll put more effort defensively as well, right?
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying this is how he should act. I don't think. I think he should go hard every night on everything, but it's just not how he's built. It's just not how he is. And at some point, you got to realize that. So when you're looking at a team like the Bulls and you're saying, dude, you're going to feast on them inside, get him his shots, get involved early, and you'll see the rest of the game. He's mentally handling that defensive stuff and also sharing it. He's like, okay, I got mine. I'm cool with it. So
Mhm.
I thought that was a key element. Everyone's talking about Luka's 51, his near triple double, Austin going off for like 30 or something. And definitely, of course. But don't don't shy away from looking at the impact Aiton brings on even the intangibles when he feels like he's gotten his due.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so with that whole thing with like Aiden getting involved, right? So I'm very sporadic with that because I think that part of basketball is, you do got to feed a big man. I mean, I was young when Shaq was on the Lakers, but I know Shaq said, "Feed big man, feed the big fella, like give the big fella the ball." And I understand, right? I understand, but that's Shaq. DeAndre Ayton is not Shaq, right? So like that's why I say like, okay, like yeah, feed the big man. Like you want to go to work, big dog, go ahead. But I'm expecting you to like when Shaq said feed the big man, it was a bucket. When Shaq said feed the big man, it was going to be a foul. There was going to be a good outcome. My only problem in with like, feeding DA so much, and I agree with you. I think it is important to get him going so he feels involved. Is that I don't think I don't think that should be the case. I think that Da, right? If funny enough, he threw himself under the bus by calling out Clint Capella. But let's talk about Clint Capella, right? He said like, "Oh, they're trying to make me Clint Capella." Brother, that's exactly what we need. Somebody who is gonna roll hard, set pick and rolls, roll hard to the hoop, giving the lob threat option, giving the bounce pass option on the roll, opening up the lanes because you're rolling hard to the hoop. That's one of my problems with Da, right? Is the fact that like he wants to get going, but he doesn't even do there's certain games where he does do the intangibles, but other games like he's not. There's other games where we'll see him get like 2 3 rebounds. It's like, okay, we're gonna feed you, but you got to do your part, brother. Like we'll feed you, but you got to clean that glass regardless of whether we're feeding you or not. We'll feed you, but you got to protect that rim regardless of whether we feeding you or not. Like we shouldn't have to feed you so you feel motivated to play, right? Like that's my only thing is like DeAndre Ayton, you're not Shaq to the point where I can say like, oh man, you're right. I got to give you the ball in there because that's gonna be a bucket. Versus with Da, like I just don't think he has that. And then even like to talk about the role, I think that's one of my biggest like problems I have with DeAndre Ayton is why the fuck is it that sometimes JJ Redick feels like he has to play Jackson Hayes over DeAndre Ayton. And I'll tell you exactly why. It's the way DeAndre Ayton versus Hayes rolls to the hoop. Watch the way Hayes rolls to the hoop. Every time he doesn't care who's in there. He's expecting that lob and he's running to the hoop like he's gonna get the lob. And that opens up so much of the offense. Like that opens up the entire floor because now the defender the defense, they now have to not only account for Luka coming down court with the ball, but they also got to account for the roll man. And if they bring the help side on the backside, now Luka is just that cross court pass to a shooter in the corner or a shooter in the wing. And but DA doesn't do that. What DA does is he sets the pick and he rolls like a short roll because he wants to get that little floater, which,
Right.
okay, I like the floater. The floater's cool, bro, but the floater doesn't open up the floor like how we need, because the defense knows you're not really trying to attack the hoop. They know you're trying to stop at that little hash mark, or they know you're trying to stop like a little bit, after the free throw line. So they're just gonna be planted at the basket. You know what I'm saying? So I just think, to me, it kind of throws off the whole rhythm of the offense when he doesn't roll hard like that to the hoop. So I know that was kind of long winded on DA, but just kind of wanted to touch on that. Like, I just don't like how he's always like, feed the big dog, because it's like, bro, I think that you should do your part. And then we're like, okay, shit, DA deserves some touches. DA's been holding it down the defensive end. And this is the last thing I'll say. Me personally, like, even like when I play basketball, like my men's league now, I don't play in college anymore, but like in my men's league, like if I got a teammate that I see is grinding his ass off, playing good defense, boxing out, doing all the intangibles, doing all the little shit. As a point guard, I feel like I gotta give him the ball. At some point I gotta get him involved. He's earned it, and I just think that DA thinks it's given, not earned. I think he needs to earn it. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I know it was a little long winded, but I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with anything you're saying, John.
Mhm.
I think the part that also needs to be considered is people's personality, their mentality, and their skill set. And I don't think anyone doubts DeAndre's offensive skill set, right? It's there. The talent is there. It's the effort and it's his mentality. And at this point in his career, I think we figured out, like, he's the type of guy who needs more of a pat on the back instead of a kick in the ass. Right?
Good
He
point.
is a little like moody. It's kind of sulky at times. And he's not going to change who he is. Right? Like, should he give effort? Should he do all these things? Absolutely. Is he going to? In three stops, he's proving not always. And so yelling at him, demanding this, we've all done it as fans. I'm sure the coaching staff has done. But at a certain point, you're like, this is who he is, and this is what we have. Trade deadline is gone. He is here. What can we do about it? What can we work with? So if we coax him a little bit, give him a little this, he feels happier and like will actually produce more, great. But he's not going to, on a regular night, pull down 15 rebounds. Is
Mhm.
he capable of it? Absolutely. You look at his size and everything, but he's just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And Jackson Hayes is not as talented as DeAndre, not as naturally talented, but he definitely gives a lot more effort. So I'm
Mhm.
not surprised that there are nights he might get the start over or whatever. In a way, it's kind of nice that you have two very different big men, especially with
Mhm.
Hayes having improved his game this season, that can step in when needed. But with DeAndre, you're right. He opts for that floater. He's not as he's built physically big, but is not a physically big guy like mentally,
Mhm.
right? And so the
Absolutely.
floaters are nice and all. And over certain matchups, you're like, yeah, of course. No, what are they going to do about it? But when you
Mhm.
have certain other teams that can come at you, they pride themselves on defense, or they can bully you out of the way like Jokic can. It may not be enough. It may be more necessary to seem like you're going to be the offensive threat that then gets it open to somebody who will drive in a little bit more aggressively. But we could talk about Aiton like literally all day. He is who he
Right.
is. And as long as we, figure out how to keep him engaged, he'll do what he needs to do.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I like what you said there about just like, realizing the reality of it, that he is who he is. So I like that. All right, Shane, let's get to our last segment of the show here. It's called the Up or Down Report. I have some statements here for you, and you let me know if you're up on it, meaning you agree, or if you're down on it, meaning you disagree. If you want to, expound on any of them, feel free to expound. We can go from there. But let's go ahead and get into it, my brother. The first up or down statement I have here for you are, we talked about it earlier, but the Lakers are better without LeBron. Are you up or are you down on that statement?
I'm gonna have to say up. Like we've railed off a number of wins, and I can't remember the exact number, but if you're looking at our win-loss record with LeBron versus not, like, it's significantly better. And that's
Mhm,
not to take away from LeBron's skill, impact. I mean, I'm not a LeBron hater.
mhm,
I'm absolutely not. I'm not a LeBron like lover. I'm a LeBron respecter and appreciator, whatever you want to call it. But overall, you see the offense flow a lot better. You see the defense actually step up because you don't have that guy to look to and be like, hey, I should step back. So Overall, I'm going to say I'm up on it.
Man, Shaheen, that's a tough. Okay, so look, so here's where I'm at with it. Um, I think this is right. So this is from all the research I've done. The Lakers are 14-7 without LeBron. Okay, I don't know if that kind of sounds accurate, but you let me know. But I think the 14-7 without LeBron, and they're 26-18 with LeBron. I don't know if that also sounds accurate to you, but so I just did some quick math. I'm not the greatest mathematician, so that means that 21 games without LeBron, and that means it's 44 with LeBron. I just think so. Yes, to your point, in those games, in those 21 games, it's looked like this team is better without LeBron. But I just think like that's a difference of like a 20 game sample size, right? So like
Yeah.
we're looking at a smaller sample size versus a much bigger sample size. So I think like you're just bound to have more losses on the bigger set. Like just adding another 20 games, you're bound to have more losses on that side of like with LeBron. But and again, to your point, right? I do agree the offense flows better. I do agree that sometimes like the defense is more locked in. But again, like if you ask me, okay, John, we're coming into this game. Do you want LeBron on the team or do you want LeBron off the team? I don't I have to would have to go with LeBron on the team. And if that's the case, if that's my honest answer, if I say, hey, I think we're better with LeBron on the team, then I personally would have to be down on that statement. How do you feel about, I guess, just like all that, I guess, that I just threw out there?
I mean, you mentioned the sample size thing, and as a
Mhm.
data guy, I appreciate and I respect that, but sometimes you gotta make some directional insights with what you got. And
Okay.
although we don't have 4 or 5 seasons of this or enough stuff, you basically see a much better win percentage when he's not playing. 20 games is not insignificant. If it was
Mhm.
like 10, I'd be like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's tough to tell. But it's enough that you're looking at it and saying, we are a different team without him. We don't have to slow down or cater to him as much.
Mhm.
Again, from the eye test, you see he catches lobs still. He definitely makes great plays and all, but his shooting isn't where it has been in the past. He's
Mhm.
the greatest thing that he brings to the court at this point in his career is his mind and his physicality,
Yeah.
right? To see him come with that old man strength is nuts, but it puts the rest of the team in kind of a holding pattern at times when he especially is holding the ball for like 4, 5, 6 seconds, looking to make a move, looking for the right guy. Like you got Luka standing around a little bit more. You got Austin standing around. You can have one of those guys standing around. You can't have them both.
Mhm.
So no hate on LeBron. I think he is a key piece. And if his role was smaller, we would see a better win-loss record with him. But as it stands now, with the impact, the amount of time he's on the floor, everything, I think we're a better team generally without him.
That's respect. I can respect that, man. And for everybody listening out there, make sure y'all let us know in the comments. Like, do y'all think that the Lakers are better with LeBron? Do y'all think Lakers are better without LeBron? And as y'all know, Shaheem, one thing I do around here is I'm big on reasoning. So people can't just say like, oh, this is that. I'm like, well, okay, well, why? Well, why? Right? I'm big on why. So you got to give why. And I love the fact that you gave your why. So y'all let us know in the comment section how y'all feel about that. But let's get to the next up or down. Shaheem, the Lakers are better built for the playoffs than the regular season. Are you up or are you down on that statement?
I'm gonna say up. I'm gonna say up on that. Whereas maybe earlier in the season I had some big questions about it. Seeing not only the growth in Austin's game, Luka being better conditioned, a little more committed to defense and all, but seeing the way that they have kind of built that chemistry is a big part of it. And we have not mentioned this man's name yet, Luke Kennard.
Okay, come on.
Such an understated addition
Hmm.
at the trade deadline
Talk about it.
that has yielded unbelievable dividends. I mean, like everyone in LA loves him. He is scoring. He's getting like perimeter buckets, 3-point land, like crazy. When he has a bad game, it's so much better than anything Gabe Vincent could have given us. You know?
Thank God he's gone. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I mean, we traded like a guy who was getting Tony Snell games and like a meaningless second round pick for the second best percentage 3-point shooter in NBA history and one of the best 3-point shooters right now in the league.
Come
Like,
on.
I
And
don't know how we did that.
and the crazy thing is, Shaheem, it's like what has LeBron historically been at his best when he has type of players around him, when he has shooters around him?
Yeah.
What has Luka historically been when has Luka been historically at his best? When he has shooters around him. So to add a shooter like that, I love it. I love that shout out because you're right. We had not mentioned him all episode long, and that is an absolute key piece to this team, especially I think especially come playoffs, right? Because we know that the game is played a little bit different in the playoffs, and I also agree. I'm also up on that statement. So the game's played a little bit different come playoffs, and we know the defenses are going to be loading up a little bit more on Luka. Defenses are going to be loading up a little bit more on Austin Reaves and LeBron because of their offensive threat that they bring to the table. So to have Luka Nard right there in the corner where that shot is cash, and it's like I said this the other day on my post game show. Shahin, we went from having Luka, we went from Luka breaking down the defense and kicking it out to a shooter in the corner. That shooter went from Jared fucking Vanderbilt to Luke Kennard. Like that's so good. Like that is
Yeah.
the best possible outcome you could have possibly asked for, man.
Don't forget Rui as well. We still have him out there hitting it. So like if we need to run a lineup that's going to be like a 3-point shooting marathon,
Mm-hmm.
you got Luka's percentage has gone up like crazy. Austin's, when he gets more open looks, he doesn't necessarily hit the tough ones as much, but you got Austin, you got Luke, you got Rui. Like we're in a much better position than we thought we'd be. And then to your point about things being different in the playoffs, like the playoffs play more of a grinded out speed, right? Things are a little slower because there's a lot more mindfulness involved. And the Lakers have struggled with like when teams have constant fast breaks against them. So the way we're constructed as is, yeah, we are much better stacked for the playoffs, especially versus where we were last year.
Agreed. And then also, even to your point about the game slowing down, I also think that it becomes a lot more about dominating your matchup that you have. And I feel like, irregardless of LeBron being 41, I still think he dominates like 95% of the matchups that he gets matched up with. Like, and even LeBron said this, like, he's not even worried about the primary defender. He knows he's about to get past the primary defender. And same with Luka, right? Like, so I think to have both of those caliber of players that I would say 95, 97% of the time, the matchup that LeBron and Luka are going to have in them, they're going to dominate that matchup. And if you can dominate that matchup, now it's going to force it, the trigger to be pulled. So now the help has to come a little bit more. Now the help has to come. Now we're just swinging and kicking, So yeah, so I just wanted to add to that. And then the next up or down statement I have here for you, brother, is the Lakers with Luka Dončić and Austin Reaves have the best duo in the NBA. Are you up or are you down on that?
I am incredibly up on that. It's just
Come on.
stats, eye test, their energy, the bromance.
Come
I
on.
mean, there is no other duo in the league that I've seen have this sort of like this just like perfect fit. And in that regard, when people are talking about Austin being a free agent, is he going to get the bag? Oh, this team's after him. The Jazz are interested. Fuck off. Like he's not leaving LA. Absolutely not. He loves it here. He fits here. He has love for him here. And even though he has the love from Lakers fans, from Luka, from LeBron, it doesn't get to his head. Anytime you see him in a post game or in the locker room, whatever, like he is still that humble kid from Arkansas. He's
Right.
a killer. He is a killer. White boy can play.
Who?
Right. And I think Luka sees that and loves and appreciates it. Luka is one of those guys, like he has his own, like, there's a time for him to be a killer, time for him to be laid back and all. But when he builds like a friendship with somebody that goes beyond the court, then what comes to the court is even more important, right? You learn how the other person plays and how to optimize not only their game, but your game in their point. You know the spots are going to be in. You build that natural chemistry, right? Luka started building that with Kyrie for real and then got traded.
Yep.
And for him to it's like literally you were in love with somebody and you thought you have your future. And then they're like, hey, by the way, like, peace out. Right?
I'm good. I'm leaving.
I'm leaving. Or even worse, their dad's like, you can't date her anymore. We're shipping you off. But for him to like heal and find that new partner and to get to the point where it is, I mean, they're both just like offensive dynamos and they're both stepping it up defensively and they're both helping the other get those opportunities. They make the game easier for each other. So I can't think of a better duo in the league right now.
Okay. Hey, I agree, brother. And we talked about earlier sometimes numbers not being black and white, but sometimes men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. And the numbers will show you that AR and Austin Reaves are the best duo. I mean, AR and Luca are the best duo in the league. But okay, brother, we have these last two up or down statements here. This one is Shahin, the Lakers will finish as a top 4 seed and get home court advantage come playoffs. Are you up or are you down on that?
If they can sustain this level of focus, I'm going to be up on that.
Okay.
We've got Denver tonight. It was a tough matchup last time we lost. Goddamn, Jamal Murray turns into like Kobe, Jordan, like against us. Nobody else, just us. I don't know what his chip is, but in terms of being a 4 seed, like right now, I think we're the 3 seed. You've got, we have this back forth with the Houston, Rockets, Timberwolves, who we took down and all. I do think we can finish 4 or higher with the home court advantage against the right matchup. But if one of those guys, I mean, because it's a tight race, if one of those teams goes on like a run at the end and we start to like sputter a bit, but I'm still pretty confident we should be able to pull that off.
Yeah, I'm also up on that. So at the beginning of the season, I mean, if everybody, they're checking this out on Lakers Corner, y'all could go click on the page and go see my season preview that I did at the beginning of the season, and I said that best case scenario, Lakers finish out as a 4th seed, but worst possible case scenario, we're going to finish as a 6th seed. I didn't think we were going to finish any worse than a 6th seed, but at best finishing as a 4th seed. So me personally, like the way we're playing, I don't see why we can't. I don't see why we can't. And then even like I'm looking at the standings right now as of Saturday, March 14th, we're 41-25 in the 4th seed, and the Houston Rockets are also 41-25 in the 3rd seed. They probably have the tiebreaker on us. But we're coming, we're in a 4-game winning streak, right? Like we can keep the ball rolling. And like how you say, not kind of like fall off here towards the end of the season. I don't see any reason why we can't finish as the 4th seed. And if we have that home court advantage, like we talked about, Lakers being better built for the playoffs. And if we even have home court, like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to a playoff Laker game, but that energy is electric and
makes a difference.
It makes a difference. It really makes a difference, man. And I'll tell you what, like when I was younger, I used to be like, man, like, why does playing home in a way like matter? Like you're playing the same sport. Nah, man, that shit makes a difference. That's like having, you get a couple buckets going, you get the crowd feeling, you get the crowd behind you.
Yeah,
you feel like you're unstoppable. And on the other end, you miss a couple of buckets, and the crowd letting you hear it. And now, like in the greatest players, Kobe said it. The great players, have quick, like fast memory. They forget the good plays and the bad plays. But it's hard to forget the bad plays if every time you miss, they letting you hear that, right? So
yeah.
I say all that to say, if you have a home court advantage, that can only even play out more to our favorite there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So then last one that we have here for the show is Shahin. Will Luka Dončić, or I guess not will, because it's an up or down, so I got to ask a different way. But Luka Dončić will be the league MVP this year. Are you up or are you down on that?
I'm gonna say up. He's had his stretches where he struggled for sure, but like he's never down for long. And I know like he's going up against Wemby and OKC and all that, but like the way I see it, there is no other team where if you take out that star player,
thank you,
will just fall apart. And I don't mean like our team is bad. It just means like he is such a central glue piece. He raises the floor for everybody.
Yeah. Right? You know what it means to him? It means he's the most valuable player, which is literally the award. I'm sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
No, yeah. And it's true. However, if we fall below like the 4 seed, they won't give it to him. So like we have to sustain that level of play. He has to continue being like a triple-double machine and all that. And then I think it's his to lose.
Okay. So Yes, 100%. Honestly, from the second Luka Dončić got traded to the Lakers, I was like, yeah, y'all are in trouble. This guy's about to win MVP next year. An entire year of Luka on the Lakers with offseason training, like, you know what I'm saying? Because that was
Yeah.
one thing when he just came into the season, and even Rob said it. He said, like, we were trying to build an airplane, like, while it was still in the air when Luka came in midway through the season. But when we had like coming into this season, I'm like, oh wow, like a Luka Doncic whole offseason with the Lakers, he getting in shape, he mad about getting traded. Yeah, it's over for y'all. He about to win MVP, right? So not only is he doing it with like 32 points per game, that's 7 rebounds and 8 assists, but to your point, come on, man. Let's look at the other candidates: Jokic, Wemby, and Shea. You take those three guys out of their team; those teams are still 8 seed, top 7 seed, top 6, prefer even probably a top like 5 seed. Bro, you take Luka Doncic off this Lakers team, we're a top 17 seed, and you're gonna be like, John, not even 17 teams. I'm gonna be like, that's exactly how bad we'd be if you took Luka off this team. So that's to me is like, right? Like, what does most valuable player mean? Who's bringing the most value to your team? And Luka Doncic is by far bringing the most value to your team. And then to your point, you mentioned about like if we drop below that 4th seed, he might not get it. Then shit. If Jokic doesn't, if the Nuggets don't pass us, then Jokic better not either. Because Jokic better not either because he's not having a better season than Luka, in my opinion. But
No.
but yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man,
We'll see. Time will tell. Let's hope. But if you know somebody like Luka, an MVP, yeah, it's nice. He wants to raise that trophy.
come on, that's what he wants to do, Mr. Larry O.B. That's what we need, Mr. Larry O.B.
Absolutely. Gotta match back up with the Celtics again and then start passing them soon.
Come
He
on,
will
man.
he will be a serious legend in LA if he can get more than one title here and put us ahead of the Celtics. It'll be
Yes,
all love.
absolute legend. And you know what, Shaheem? I mean, this is a whole nother thing. We don't got to get into this, but that's a whole nother reason why I think that it's much more realistic for Giannis to come to this team than people think. I know it may sound like a stretch, guys. I know it may sound wild, but think about it. If he comes in an AD situation where it's like, I want to go to the Lakers and the Lakers only, and it's like, well, okay, well, John, why would Giannis ever say that? Let's look at it. Luka would be by far the best player Giannis has ever played with. Giannis would have a chance to come to LA, be cemented in not only LA history but NBA history. Shaheem, we're Laker fans, but we know even if we weren't Laker fans, when you win a championship in LA, you're fucking good in the NBA. Like you're just cemented in the NBA. Period. So he has a chance to play with the best player he's ever played with. Has a chance to come to sunny, beautiful California. Probably make the most money he's ever made off the court. Win a championship in LA. Be cemented in LA history and NBA history. Giannis, the cards look pretty telling, Giannis. Come on, man. That's a whole nother situation, though. But I just
Oh
out there.
yeah. We'll talk about that some more a little later. Maybe more towards the off season when it might be something worth focusing on. Right now, it's more like finish the season strong.
Yes, sir.
Make some statement wins, especially against those real playoff contenders. Hopefully, one tonight, and stay healthy because that's always the biggest thing right there.
That's what it is, man. That's what it is, man. Man, Shaheem, I feel like this is a good place for us to go ahead and stop our episode. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you for blessing us with your time, your knowledge, just sharing your Saturday with me, brother. You could be doing anything, but you're here with me talking some hoops, and I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on today, John.
Absolutely. Do you have any last words or anything you want to shout out before we go ahead and wrap up? I'll tag everything in the description down below, but wanted to give you a platform to do that if you want to do that.
Yeah. I just want to shout out the fans, especially people that follow my account, really, get into debates, discussions, are really excited by designs I put together, content I put together. Like I read every comment and it means a lot to me because I still am always kind of surprised that so many people love a team as much as I do, find a lot of meaning. So I want to say thank you so much to all you fans. Still rep that purple and gold, have the faith, and, let people hear it, in the comments below on this video. Go in there and share it. Like John and I are going to be reading them and we're taking that all to heart. So thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir, man. I love what you said Shaheem, about reading all the comments. That's something as a content creator I take very seriously. I want everybody to know that I appreciate them even being here and giving their insight and their perspective. So love what you said there, brother. And yeah, make sure y'all go show some love to Shahin. I'll have everything linked in the description down below, and it'll be right there in this little bubble. And make sure y'all go check out Lakers Corner. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. But for now, that's it. We got it, y'all. Peace.